Okay, well, good evening, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Very warm welcome to another CFCC online event this evening. For those of you I haven't met before, my name's Chris Buckwell. I'm the Deputy Chairman to Ray Chisty in our organisation. I'm a party activist all my life and currently a unitary and parish councillor in the Medway towns. We have one of our own excellent members as our guest speaker this evening. Most of you will know Ruth. Ruth is a member of the party in Ealing Acton Constituency Association and active in a number of roles nationally and locally for our party. She chairs the Conservative Friends of East Africa and is a regional advisor for the Commonwealth Foundation. In her business life, she works in international property and supports clients with international property investment portfolios and refurbishments in a range of differing countries and in different economies. Although the head office of her company is based in London, there are offices in East Africa, in Commonwealth countries, which include Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda. So we should be in Swahili, really, I think, in part this evening, but we won't. My connection with the Commonwealth is perhaps a prospective connection in some respects. I have the honour to be a diplomat. I represent the Republic of Sao Tome and Principe, and their Prime Minister instructed me to make inquiries about possibly becoming the second Portuguese-speaking country behind Mozambique to join the Commonwealth. So I've had my first high-level meeting with the Commonwealth Secretariat with respect to that. It's a long process and we'll see where it goes. So the Commonwealth clearly remains popular and new countries are interested in joining or rejoining. But we will hear much more about all of this now, and I'll hand over to our colleague, Ruth. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you for that introduction, Chris. As you can see on the slide, the Commonwealth encompasses 53 countries without the UK, and it's about 2.4 billion people on 6 continents. This is a rapidly changing number, as you can imagine, including even the countries that are involved, because some leave and some come back. So they are fluid numbers. I'm an activist in Ealing, as Chris mentioned, and particularly I was when working with Angie Bray, we used to focus on the young vote, and we would go to schools and colleges, and we contributed to the outreach at head office through the young vote, and we also focused on associated friends groups headed by Chloe and Michael Scott. I'm founder of Conservative Friends of East Africa, and that encompasses the 8 East African countries, including Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Burundi, Eritrea, South Sudan, and the small island of Seychelles. The second company I work with is Terestes Servo Coronas. TSC is, in fact, a non-profit organization and was founded to raise awareness of the many benefits of the Commonwealth, proactively engaging with Commonwealth organizations and supporting them whenever possible. It also supports charitable projects and missions in our 5 core areas of engagement, including armed forces, infrastructure and civil society, STEM research and education, culture and heritage, chronic pain research, and support. Thanks, Melissa. Can we have the second slide? Now these, I don't think you can see them very well, but these are a list of the Commonwealth countries currently part of the organization. I'd just like to say, before going into a background of all the Commonwealth bodies, my boss recently pointed out to me that at the end of the 19th century, the Africans relocated from the African countries. Only 8% actually can be called British responsibility. The other 50% were in fact Spanish responsibility, which is a very well-known fact, because very little known fact, because it's always the opposite way when you hear it. So the history of the Commonwealth dates back to the first half of the 20th century. It includes most of the 54 Commonwealth countries being former territories of the British Empire. This large number always encourages cultures and races to support each other and prosper. The stated values of the Charter are democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. The current head of the Commonwealth is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Chief institutions are the Secretariat, which is the head of the Commonwealth and focuses on the main intergovernmental aspects. This body was formed in 1931, and it serves the Commonwealth of Nations, mainly being responsible for its publicity. The Commonwealth Secretary General is the head of the Secretariat, and this post is currently held by the charming Baroness Scotland. Speaking on the Commonwealth Secretary General, Baroness Scotland, talked about aiming for focusing on education as one of the top priorities for every Commonwealth country. I am also particularly keen on education, and in fact, I would say I'm passionate on education. An associated body is the Commonwealth Foundation that facilitates closer relationships with various member states. The country's main joint events within the Commonwealth include every 4 years the Commonwealth Games and the very popular annual Commonwealth dinner celebration that is usually held at Buckingham Palace. This is hosted by the head of the Commonwealth and other royal members of the family. The guests include all high commissioners and the heads of the Commonwealth countries. It's a very glamorous and beautiful occasion, with all the high commissioners in national dress giving a taste of their country and promoting it to the other Commonwealth nations. A less known body is the Royal Commonwealth Society, RCS, which is a network of individuals and organizations committed to improving the lives and prospects of Commonwealth citizens around the world. Their focus is youth empowerment, education, and high-level advocacy. RCS highlights youth opportunity and the strength coming from being connected. The society was formed in 1868 and champions the importance of literacy, equality, and inclusion. RCS hosts a regular Commonwealth Day to celebrate all Commonwealth countries. This includes a Commonwealth service held in the presence of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, acting in her role as the head of the Commonwealth. It is a celebration of Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth service is the world's premier interfaith public event in celebration of the Commonwealth nations. RCS is nonpartisan, independent of government, and relies on public generosity to achieve its mission. So I hope that's given you an idea of some of the background of what we are talking about today. Melissa, can I have the third slide, please? Melissa?
It's for some reason it's not, although I've moved it, it's not showing.
We can wait a bit.
Sorry,
There you go.
I'll have to share it again because sorry, can you carry on with the talk? Because I'm not sure. There was a bit of a hitch with the sharing of that document.
Okay. Positive racial diversity is shown in international Christian organizations active in many Commonwealth countries. These often work with local churches and include Christian organizations encompassing various cultures. Projects include the Red Tribe Project. The Red Tribe is based in northern Kenya, where different red tribes, including Maasai, Samburu, and Turkana, and international cultures work and live together to invest in education and enriching the local communities. It is a particularly successful project and has also managed to encourage the Red Tribe women to become more independent by working with them to set up an export company, exporting traditional costumes, bracelets, and beads to Europe. The picture that's going to come up is actually shows the Red Tribe Project. And Becky, part of our church, relocated to Kenya 10 years ago with her 3 children, and you know, was a huge, huge, huge impact on the community, and has taught a lot of the Maasai children how to speak English and how to just understand a different way of culture, because the red tribes are usually very insular. And then Becky's 3 children are now fluent in Maasai and can run faster and jump as high as any of the Maasai children. So it's a wonderful example of positive racial diversity. The Red Tribe churches and local organizations now receive direct funding from our local churches and Christian organizations here. The staff come from various churches and they go for 1 year, and they turn around just to be able to bring back what they've learned, and also for the Maasai and Red Tribes to actually take a feel from different people. The Tear Fund is a long-standing and very successful charity. It teams up with multicultural companies and communities wherever the need is greatest. Their aim being to help them to unlock their particular potential, thereby becoming more self-sufficient. Stand By Me works in a very sensitive area of rescuing children. So you can imagine if a child is vulnerable and in school or at home or living on the street, for an international charity to come and rescue them is very sensitive, including explaining to the local community, explaining to the teachers, explaining to the family what's going on. And I have seen instances where they rescue children. In fact, they get them to an adoption stage, and then they have to actually start from scratch because of the local community actually refusing for it to go ahead. But I've also seen examples in South Africa and Kenya where it's been tremendously, tremendously successful. And children who really had lost hope are now absolutely positive and going forward. So their stated aim is to rescue children and attempt to provide the various levels of care, love, and attention for each child. And the various children, as you can imagine, need very different levels of care. And this is also affected, especially in South Africa, by the different tribes that they come from, just because of the tribal differences there and the different way that they bring up their children. So it's a very sensitive area, but very, very needed. The Lawyers Christian Fellowship are particular. Sorry, Melissa?
No, I haven't said anything. Can you see the red tribe now?
It's all right, I'll wait a bit.
No, it says I'm screen sharing it. Oh dear, sorry. No, carry on.
Okay. The Lawyers Christian Fellowship are very helpful to the developing countries legally. And this involves international big legal companies working together by linking up with the smaller legal companies in various areas and helping them negotiate and move forward in particularly difficult legal situations. And these include political, if somebody is, they can't move on because of all the other politics that is stopping them from moving on. It also includes business legal situations where the legal systems are not quite clear. So all sorts of money is going to be exchanging hands, stopping the case from going anywhere. And the other instance that I have seen is actually repression of the younger upcoming businessmen, with the older businessmen feeling threatened and just feeling uncomfortable. And so all sorts of things happen. So the Lawyers Christian Fellowship, I've seen it to be very, very helpful. The vision for kids is focused solely on education, working mainly with schools and educational facilities. Now they get most of their support from local schools in the UK and all over Europe. And in fact, it's a very direct support, that the books go straight to the schools, the pencils, the computers, the calculators. So it's a very, in a way, it's a very simple mechanism that they have. And that's been going for a while. And it's also well established in terms of both sides, where they're receiving the support and the people giving the support. And then we have Christians in Property and Midweek in Mayfair. Hi, Melissa, I can see everyone, but I can't see the slide.
I'm trying my best, Ruth. Please be patient.
Okay, no problem. Christians in Property and Midweek in Mayfair are based in Mayfair, and they look to encourage university students, particularly those from other cultures, to integrate and help them succeed also academically. Their main church is Christchurch Mayfair, and they represent many European countries. Now this is a picture of Becky, who I mentioned working with the Red Tribe, and a lovely Maasai lady. And she's wearing the beads and bracelets that they've helped each other set up an export company. And now the Maasai women are becoming more and more self-sufficient. And I think a lot says in both you can read a lot in both their expressions. And I think Becky is particularly pleased. So yes, and that is the beautiful Maasai tribe. And that is what I would call a shosho, which is a granny, because she's got the granny stick that only grannies usually are allowed to have. And yes, that I would say shosho smiling. So this is definitely, I think, one of my very important photos, because it just says so much. And you can see she's wearing a kang around her shoulder, so she's colder than Becky. So yes, that's the beautiful picture of the Red Tribe project. Thanks, Melissa. Do we have the next slide?
Melissa, how do I get slides? I haven't seen one.
Can you see them, Ruth?
Yes, I can see them perfectly well. Thank you.
I'll have a chat with you afterwards, Robert Hutch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this slide really is just encompassing the different cultures working together on a different level. And particularly Christians in Property and Midweek in Mayfair would be involved in such a group because they not only mentor the international students and obviously local students through their university degrees, their master's degrees, their PhD degrees, but also through the initial stages of business, just helping them understand even how to, basic things of how to behave in a business meeting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the United Nations is the best example of racial diversity in a positive way on a worldwide scale. It's an international organization founded in 1945 after the Second World War by 51 countries, committed to maintaining international peace and security, developing friendly relations among neighbors, and promoting social progress, and finally, better living standards and human rights. So that is the body I think that everybody looks to for their standards. And sometimes I would say even for the energy to carry on. They see what it represents and they carry on. The United Stations are based in various countries with many cultures. Thank you, Melissa. With many cultures working and living together. Are you able to sort of move them back and forth, Melissa?
Do you want to go back?
No, it's okay. Let's leave it there. The United Nations is an international organization. So another example of who it works with is the High Commissioners of all Commonwealth countries. And because it's an international organization, the High Commissions are comfortable to work with it. But also the British Army also works with the High Commissions all over the world in the Commonwealth, because it just gives them, I think, a direct way of communicating with their bosses, and also it gives them a secure environment. Also, surprisingly, international news networks like CNN, BBC also work with the High Commissions and the UN stations. So with that in mind, it becomes a very important station where they're there. Okay. The national examples of UN stations are Nairobi, that represents not only Kenya, but represents other countries that are nearby that are not deemed to be as secure. So United Nations stations don't just represent one country. Another example of flourishing racial diversity is Keystone Legacy, which is an organization that has committed to being helpful and supporting the UN Sustainable Development Goals, works, and organizations. And they do this in a sustainable way to protect the natural environment and decarbonize our planet. They design and manage cooperative carbon migration schemes within Plan Vivo accreditation frameworks, aimed at reducing environmental degeneration and diversifying income for rural communities. Keystone Legacy has projects including Tree Kenya, whose ultimate goal is to combat poverty, gender inequality, climate change, food insecurity, and biodiversity losses by converting degraded land into productive, income-generating, biodiversity-rich forests. And this is very important in terms of a lot of land ownership by wealthy people just been sort of going to waste, whereas Keystone will go in and actually promote its sale and make it useful. So, and then I'll just finish that section by talking about the South African Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where a lot of cultures came together and they were able to forgive each other and rebuild their country. So this last slide, Melissa, can I have the last slide? Yes, okay, I just want to talk about the National Statistics Office that shows some very interesting figures. The census in 2011 showed that nearly 1 in 10 people, 9%, who were living as part of a couple were in an inter-ethnic relationship in England and Wales. This was an increase from 7% in 2001. And the future growth is expected to be more exponential for the various reasons of improving communication and travel. My personal example is I was born in Kenya, brought up in sunny Devon. My husband is from Oxford, and our lovely children shown here are dual heritage. One of our members recently reminded us that the strongest unit is the family bond. The numbers from the Office National Statistics indicate that our future will include an increasing number of dual heritage families with both more cultural variety and encompassing our various different cultures. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much indeed, Ruth. I think we will go to questions next, and Melissa hopefully is able to see any hands raised or any chat posing questions. Melissa, are you okay to pick up at this point, please?
Yes, I see that Lord Taylor's kindly joined us. Great to see you, John. Shall I unmute you? We'd love to hear your words of wisdom. Any insights about the Commonwealth or UN or our racial diversity? I'm sure in the Lords there is a huge amount.
Well, I'm very lucky because I share a room with David Howell, Lord Howell of Guildford, and he is a great Commonwealth fan, and he finds a great strength in the Commonwealth, which I think is now gaining ground in terms of esteem, certainly in the upper house, because it is a family, it is a network. We all have so much in common, not just the English language, which we don't, of course, have exclusively, but it's something which members of the Commonwealth take a pride in being able to communicate with each other in. The legal system that we have is largely the system that the Commonwealth has, not exclusively, but these things matter. And I think in terms of global spread, they're probably one of the greatest assets that we have at this time. And of course, there's been racial tensions, and they're bound to, there'll be resentment from history and the imperial past. But I think there's an awareness also that without the imperial past, there wouldn't be the Commonwealth present. And that it's about what it brings to us all throughout the Commonwealth that we share in common. And the history may not have been kind to us at every moment, but if we look at the world in which we live, it makes one realize that it's an asset which all Commonwealth citizens can rely on and be proud of.
Thank you, Lord Taylor. I absolutely agree. Thank you. And, you know, positivity is the only thing that's going to help us move forward. And in fact, if you look at South Africa, they've shown us best how to be positive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, there's Lady Sheikh as well. Great to see you there, Lady Sheikh. Would you like to ask any question? No. Irene, I know that you were interested in this topic.
Yes, I'm on the phone, Melissa. I'm sorry, I got a problem with my computer, so I couldn't get into the screen.
But we can hear you loud and clear, so.
Oh, okay, brilliant. All right, good.
Love to
Well,
hear.
yeah, I do have, just as background, corporately, I was an HR director and worked in Asia, the Middle East, for organizations of German, US, and British origin. My last posting was in the Middle East for a UAE, Emirati investment bank, who actually had aspirations to create an investment bank across the region.
Yeah, but I can't hear.
Sorry? Can't hear?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. To serve local businesses in the region, and hence provide, local knowledge and understanding and language ability and all the rest of it, rather than as an alternative to the US and European investment banks. That was probably my most challenging role in terms of career. I think one was more aware of diversity in that environment than, say, in Asia, and particularly Hong Kong and Singapore, where I never really heard any discussions about race or issues with what should I say, in the workplace, with male, female, as we see in Europe.
Okay.
So that was particularly interesting. I think my overall feeling is that we're diverse as human beings anyway. None of us is exactly the same. And it comes down to relationships and where one can actually relate and understand different cultures, then the diversity really doesn't come into it. And actually my sort of illustration on that is that diversity in the workplace became a hot topic. It came out of the States into Europe and then subsequently into Asia, particularly in the business I was working in. However, the presentations in Asia attended by the local employees were not particularly understood on the basis that historically they had always worked together anyway. So it was bringing something from the States and Europe that actually in Hong Kong, for example, people were it was irrelevant. They were just used to working together in teams anyway with whoever was there. So that's my 2 penny worth.
That's a really, really positive message in that we are all different anyway.
Yes, exactly.
We have to correlate with each other anyway. So why sort of stand in a corner and say A, B, C, D? That's a wonderful message. So positive, so positive. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Yeah.
Great, thank you. We've got Chris who'd like to ask a question, Patrick and Dennis. Okay, so I don't know if Lady Sheikh wants to keep, but Chris, do you want to say anything?
Yes. If I may, Ruth, to members of the Commonwealth who are present lawfully in the UK, there are really only 2 advantages under our system, under our laws. The first is to have the full electoral franchise as though you were a British citizen. And the second is an entitlement to apply to join the armed services. And we have many serving who are Commonwealth citizens. It seemed to me for a while that, particularly with our exit from the European Union, yet to be fully concluded, but nevertheless there in principle, that perhaps the time is right that the UK should consider whether other opportunities, legal opportunities really, should be given to Commonwealth citizens who find themselves also legally residing.
Absolutely, Chris. And the government has. Hello? Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And the government has recently reached out to the East African community, whereas before you had to be a graduate to get a work permit. They have now, a couple of weeks ago, reached out and said, no, you come anyway. If you can contribute to the economy, you're welcome to come. And I think that it is so sensible and fair, because they're coming actually to give. So yes, Chris, I hope that happens more and more, and we realize the benefits of actually that more movement between the Commonwealth and the United Kingdom.